In today's video, we are going to talk about terminal knee extension. So terminal knee extension is that last little bit of straightening the knee out. Now, some of you go into hyperextension, and we're also going to address that today. So whether you're having difficulty straightening your knee out or whether you are popping back into hyperextension of the knee, this video is for you. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset in the context of neurologic injury, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take ownership of your rehab and live an overall more active, more mobile, pain-free, happier life. Now, terminal knee extension, it's that last little bit of knee control where you are straightening your knee out, but you're not popping your knee back into hyperextension. So let's first talk about those of you who can't straighten your knee out, or when you go to stand on that leg or load your involved leg, you feel like you just can't push that knee back. One reason, potentially, could be that you just don't have control of the muscles that move the knee back and extend the hip. Those two motions have to occur at the same time when you are standing on that leg. Number two is you cannot control the knee muscles that straighten the knee out and extend the hip and keep your foot dorsiflexed. So when you go to stand on the leg and the foot is automatically dorsiflexed by the force of the ground pushing back up into your foot, when that is happening, you lose the ability to control your hip and your knee. So the reason that might happen is that you are in what we call a synergy pattern, and an extensor synergy pattern for the leg means that the knee is straight, the hip is extended, but the foot needs to point. So the second you try and flex the foot, it's because you are using an extensor synergy pattern, you don't have the ability in that scenario to straighten the knee and extend the hip at the same time. And the other reason that you might not be able to straighten your knee is just you have no connection with that side of your body at all. So I do see this sometimes, and if that is you, oftentimes what you'll see is you try and kind of straighten your knee out by pushing your butt back. So that really means you just have no control over that leg at all. And the only way you can get that knee to straighten out is by almost using your entire body to kind of just use the physics or the mechanics of how our bones sit on top of each other to get that knee straight. So if you have no control over any component of that motion, a lot of times that is what you might see. But don't worry, because we're going to go into that today in some of the exercises that we do. And now for those of you that are hyperextending your knee, that still does mean you have, even though your knee is going too far backwards, it still does mean you have a lack of control at terminal knee extension. So all of you that hyperextend your knee, you do not have control at that terminal portion of knee extension. There's a variety of reasons why this could happen. This could also be an extensor synergy pattern. So all you know how to do is use an extensor synergy pattern. So when you go to straighten the leg out, the entire leg straightens out, including the foot points. And so when it acts on the ground, or the ground does not allow your foot to point, it pushes the knee backwards. So that is a lot of times the case if you are primarily using an extensor synergy pattern to stand on that leg and control that leg. So in all of those scenarios that I just talked about, the main theme is either no control at all, meaning that you have no connection with the muscles at all, and therefore we need to learn how to isolate those knee muscles, or you are using an extensor synergy pattern primarily to load that leg. And again, that means that you might have difficulty isolating terminal knee extension. And those are all of the exercises we're going to go over today, is how do you restore normal stance control on that leg and maintain a straight knee, but not a locked out knee. So the things that we're going to focus on not only are isolating knee motion, but also learning how to coordinate hip extension with knee extension. without letting the foot point, because again, we want to break up that synergy pattern. So in this first exercise, what we're going over is just isolated terminal knee extension. Now, again, remember we're trying to isolate knee extension and coordinate knee straightening with hip extension. So the things that I want you to pay attention to on this one is first, that you're getting your knee up off of the mat. You do need to have your foot elevated in order to do this. So you want something under your ankle, and also that you're not lifting your hip up. So that is a pretty common compensation if you can't isolate that knee motion. So we're trying to learn how to extend the hip, which means the leg should be going up towards the ceiling when you're face down, and straighten the knee out at the same time. If your butt is coming up in the air, that means you're not extending the hip, but you're actually flexing the hip, or you're compensating in some other way. Now, if you're going into knee hyperextension, you do want a night splint or something on your foot to keep your foot dorsiflex. So remember, we're also trying to break up that extensor synergy pattern. We want to be able to extend the knee without the foot pointing. So let me show that to you again. So again, hip stays down and you're just squeezing that quad and just lifting that knee up off of the mat. If you're rotating or you feel like your butt's coming up in the air, then you're probably not isolating that knee and hip extension, which is what we're trying to focus on. So again, the leg should be coming up and the hip should be staying down. If you are someone that has an extensor synergy pattern, remember you do want to keep that foot flexed, so you do want to do this with a night splint. So for this exercise, what I'm showing is a terminal knee extension. I'm adding the arms to this just to show you that you can add an arm component to all of the exercises, or you can try and add them whenever possible. And this is a perfect one to add an upper extremity or an arm weight bearing activity to it as well, and kind of challenge the entire body to work together. But you want to be in a lunge position for this. And again, you want the heel to stay down, and we're just working that last little bit of knee extension. You want to keep the front leg bent. Now, the reason for that is that sometimes people can't dissociate. So when they straighten one knee out, both knees want to straighten out. And if that is you and you find that you have a tendency to want to do that, you want to pay special attention to keeping that front knee bent. And then again, get in that lunge position. Let that back leg bend just a little bit, and then pushing it straight. Now with your foot dorsiflex, so see, because I'm in that lunge, that back foot is staying overly dorsiflexed. You can't really go use an extensor synergy pattern because the floor won't allow your foot to point. So whether you have spasticity in your calf or you are using an extensor synergy pattern to load that leg when you're walking, in either case, this is a way to isolate knee extension without letting that foot point. And then this is just another variation if you did not want to use the arm, if you did not want to include the arm weight bearing. So this is another terminal knee extension exercise. What we're adding with this one is we're adding the component of having to extend that hip at the same time and dorsiflex the ankle. So by having to step up to a higher step with the uninvolved leg, so this is the non-working leg in this example, and then back down, what you're having to do is you're having to extend that hip and that knee and dorsiflex that ankle as you have to move your body weight forward. A lot of times if you are someone that relies heavily on an extensor synergy pattern to stand on that leg, your butt either stays back or your leg straightens out before you actually get up and it's already straight. So make sure that the knee starts out bent and that you move your entire body forward, and pay special attention that your knee doesn't pop back. So you can do that just by focusing on keeping those hips forward as you come up. You keep them moving forward as you come up. And down again, that's working hip and knee extension at the same time with ankle dorsiflexion. So this is just a little home stair climber device. They're pretty cheap. I'll put a link for one in the description below. What I like about this activity is you're again working that terminal knee extension, but by your feet being on these plates, they're actually keeping your ankle dorsiflexed. So you really do have to learn how to isolate that knee and hip extension without letting the foot point. Again, you have to be pretty high level to do this exercise, so do not do this unless you're someone who can already walk pretty comfortably without an assistive device. The reason I'm showing it like this is if you sit on a little bit of a higher stool, it's a little bit safer and a little bit easier to get onto it. The other thing I have on here is this is Dysum, and I will put a link for this in the description below, but it's a little bit sticky, so sometimes people's foot rotates a little bit. So this will help to prevent, if you're someone where your leg kind of likes to rotate out to the side or your foot rotates out to the side, then this will help keep that foot in place. And again, just get your feet positioned first, then stand up. And remember, again, if you keep your hips forward, that helps to prevent that knee from going into hyperextension. And again, we're working hip and knee extension with ankle dorsiflexion. So this is active assisted isolated knee extension. You want to be in a lunge position, especially if you're someone who uses an extensor synergy pattern. It gets your body weight forward and makes sure that it keeps that ankle dorsiflexed, so it doesn't allow you to use that extensor synergy pattern because the floor is not allowing you to point your foot. And then again, if you have no strength at all, a lot of times your hip will go back. That's just kind of what you're in the habit of doing to get your knee straight. So what you really want to pay attention to is keeping those hips forward and not letting the hips go back when you straighten that knee out. So hips pointing forward, hips square to the front, little bend in that knee. You keep this knee bent the whole time. If you straighten both knees out, you're probably someone who can't dissociate left from right. So if you feel like you have to straighten both knees out to get this knee straight, pay attention to that and see if you can keep that front knee bent, and then just a little bend in the back knee, and then allow that band to help you to straighten that knee out. So I hope you guys found those exercises helpful. Just to review the reasons why you might not be able to straighten your knee out: either you have no connection with muscles in the leg at all, or you primarily use an extensor synergy pattern to stand on that leg, and so if your foot is flexed, you lose that control in your knee to keep that knee straight. Or you're someone who has had spasticity in the ankle for a long time and you've just gotten in the habit of pushing that leg back. In either of those cases, isolating knee extension is super valuable and will make you feel a lot more confident with your walking. If you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you will get notified every time I upload new videos. If you're not following us yet on Instagram, definitely head on over to Instagram and follow us over there, where I post 1 to 2 exercises every single week just to help keep your home exercise program fresh and adding a little bit of variety. If you have questions and you haven't yet signed up for one of our live events, our next live will be the last Wednesday in July. I highly recommend that you sign up for that. They're a lot of fun. They're very informative. We get tons of good questions, and I will stay and answer every single question. So it's growing, and the number of questions that I'm going through is growing as well. But as I said, it makes it super informative and super valuable. You can find out more information about those live Q&A sessions in the description below. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.